Hey guys, and welcome back to the Odd Socks channel. Today we're doing another deep dive completion review. And what's a deep dive completion review, you may ask? Well, it's where I need to complete a game in its entirety from start to finish. It doesn't matter how many save states or load states I use, but I just need to complete the game on the Evercade system before I actually review it. And today's game that we're reviewing is Sly Spy from the Data East collection, Arcade Cart number 2. Let's get into it. Let's have a quick look at some of the other games that come on the Data East Arcade 1 collection. Burger Time, Bad Dudes vs. Dragon Ninja, Gates of Doom, Wizard Fire, Breakthrough, Tumble Pop, Darwin 4078, Sly Spy, Chain Reaction, and Lock and Chase. Sly Spy is a 1989 arcade game by Data East. It's an over-the-top spy action game where players take on the role of a secret agent tasked with stopping a terrorist organisation called the CWD, or the Council for World Domination. The gameplay features a mix of platforming, shooting, and vehicular combat, drawing heavy inspiration from classic James Bond films. As always, we'll be reviewing the story, the sound, and gameplay, but before we do that, here's some facts about Sly Spy and Data East. Data East had a history of making games inspired by movies without getting the official licensing. An example of this was Bad Dude vs. Dragon Ninja, which was clearly inspired by 80s action movies of the time. Data East even got sued by Capcom over Fighter's history in 1993, which was just a little bit too similar to Street Fighter 2. The big question on everyone's lips: did Data East actually have the rights to James Bond? And no, they didn't. Data East did not have the official rights to the James Bond franchise when they made Sly Spy. However, the game borrows heavily from Bond themes, including the title screen featuring the famous gun barrel sequence, a tuxedo-clad protagonist, and numerous spy gadgets. The game even features action set pieces that resemble moments from Bond films, such as skydiving shootouts from Moonraker and battles on moving vehicles. Since Sly Spy never explicitly named its hero James Bond or directly referenced 007, it managed to avoid legal trouble. It was common practice at the time for developers to create inspired by games and leaned heavily on popular franchises without officially licensing them. Unlike many arcade shooters of the time, Sly Spy featured multiple gameplay styles, including a skydiving gunfight, a motorcycle chase with shooting elements, standard side-scrolling action sequences. This kind of genre mixing was ambitious for its time and made the game stand out. Throughout the game, you'll also notice Data East written on the background of objects, particularly in the White House level. This was a bit of a playful self-promotion by Data East. After defeating the final boss and saving the world, the agent stands with numerous women, which is a classic Bond-style ending, reinforcing the 007 inspiration. Also, what I found really interesting is at the end of Sly Spy, there's a message hinting that the player needs to go back and get a few things throughout the game. This was a classic arcade trick to encourage replayability and higher scores. So what does this actually mean? The message is likely just to push players into replaying the game, trying to find hidden secrets or achieve a higher score. Some arcade games had similar messages to make players think that there was an alternative ending, even when there wasn't. Throughout the game, you can find hidden pieces of a golden gun. If you collect all the parts, it makes your weapon much more powerful. I wonder where they got that inspiration from. Since Sly Spy was an arcade game meant to eat quarters, teasing the players with an incomplete experience was a way to get them to come back and play it again and again. So, the big question on your lips: is there an alternate ending? No, there's no alternative ending. Just the same spy movie style conclusion. The message is more about replay value than unlocking something new. You're probably asking, why didn't Data East just get the Bond license? Well, at the time, Bond games rights were mostly handled by other companies like Domark, which made Bond games for home computers. Data East, known for its unofficial tributes to pop culture, probably figured it was easier and a hell of a lot cheaper to make Bond-style games rather than pay for the actual license. The Sly Spy arcade machine, developed by Data East and released in 1989, features a design typical of arcade cabinets from that era. The marquee displays the game's title Sly Spy, which is often accompanied by vibrant artwork featuring espionage-themed imagery. Side panels and control panels typically showcase colourful graphics depicting secret agents and action sequence reflecting the game's spy theme. The control panel's layouts was equipped with a joystick and buttons for players to control, allowing for great execution of various moves during gameplay. Let's look at some of the reviews and reception from critics. Sly Spy is a high-octane action game that keeps you on the edge of your toes. The mix of gameplay styles, skydiving and motorcycle chases, and the run-and-gun combat keeps things fresh and exciting. The animations are slick and the action is non-stop. And let's be honest, it's the closest thing to playing a James Bond arcade game without the official name. While there was some good reviews, other criticism about the game was that the hit detection can be brutal and some enemies feel downright unfair. The game is short, even by arcade standards. You can actually finish Sly Spy in under 30 minutes if you're skilled and loaded with quarters. Some levels, especially the underwater sections, can feel very clunky. Let's now have a look at the story. Alright agents, your mission should you choose to accept it. Wait, I think that's the wrong franchise. But you get the idea. You're not just any secret agent, you're the secret agent. No name, no number, just a sharp tuxedo and an arsenal of weapons. And a license to blow stuff up. Your target? The Council for World Domination, a shadowy, ruthless terrorist organisation with one goal: launch a nuclear attack and hold the world hostage. Let's be honest, any respectable evil organisation needs a world-ending plot, right? They infiltrated major cities, deployed waves of deadly assassins, and loaded up their bases with more henchmen than sense. And it's only your job to stop them before they push that big red button.
Right.
But here's the thing, Sly Spy doesn't even start with a quiet intel briefing or a slow-moving stealth op. Oh no, this game just throws you into the action literally from the sky. Your first scene, a halo jump straight into enemy airspace, bullets flying before you even touch the ground. 1 second, you're in the air gunning down enemy spies trying to blast you out of existence. The next, you're pulling off a perfect landing in the middle of a city under siege. And that is just level 1. Think you'll have time to catch your breath after the first level? Nope, because the second you hit the ground, it's time to hop on a motorcycle fully loaded with a front-mounted machine gun, and it's time to hit the streets in high-speed pursuit. Motorcycles, gunfires, enemies flipping off their bikes in explosion. This sequence is pure action movie adrenaline, and you're dodging traffic, shooting down enemy riders, and jumping over roadblocks like it's just another Tuesday. And let's be real, what kind of super spy are you if you don't have a tricked out vehicle like a cool machine gun motorbike? It's straight out of a James Bond, Jason Bourne, or even an Ethan Hunt movie. Other levels have you infiltrating evil enemy lairs or even deep diving in underwater battle sequences. So what does all this add up to? A non-stop, pulse-pounding, adrenaline-fueled spy adventure that just never lets up. Every level throws something new at you, whether it's high-octane speed pursuits, high-altitude shootouts, or high-stakes infiltration. Sly Spy isn't just an arcade game. To me, it's an interactive spy movie packed into a quarter-munching machine. And even though it never says James Bond, we all know the truth, don't we, guys? Let's now take a look at the sound. Sly Spy isn't just about skydiving shootouts. It's about feeling like a spy, and that's where the music comes in. This isn't just background noise, this is your secret agent soundtrack, and it slaps. Each level is accompanied by dynamic compositions that reflect the intensity and setting of the missions. The boss encounters are underscored by heightened musical arrangements and amplifying the sense of urgency and challenge when trying to defeat them. The game opens and concludes with memorable melodies that encapsulate the classic spy narrative. The game's sound effects play a pivotal role in enhancing this experience, providing auditory cues that complement the on-screen action. The game features distinct sounds for various weapons, including gunfire, explosions, and even underwater bubble scenes, adding to the intensity of the combat sequences. It's also not uncommon to have various voice samples like mission briefings or enemy taunts, enhancing the narrative and engagement. Sly Spy, which was released by Data East in 1989, featured a dynamic soundtrack that enhanced its action-packed gameplay. The arcade version music was composed by Azusa Hara and Hirodarki Yoshida, both prominent figures in Data East's music department. Azura Hara was a key member of Data East Sound then, contributing to various titles during the 1980s and early 1990s. Also, Hiroki Yoshida played a significant role in crafting the audio experience of numerous Data East arcade games, their collaboration on Sly Spy resulting in a soundtrack that encapsulated the essence of a spy thriller, complementing the game's intense action sequences. Alright, let's talk gameplay. Sly Spy is a side-scrolling run-and-gun shooter where you, an elite secret agent, must stop the evil CWD from launching a nuclear attack against the world. Which is classic Spy stuff, really. But here's the cool part. This game isn't just a basic shooter. It's got variety. The first level, you start in mid-air, skydiving, while shooting enemies out of the sky. But wait, next you're zipping through traffic on a motorcycle with a built-in machine gun, blasting bad guys off the road like a classic James Bond chase sequence. Then you're fighting scuba diving henchmen underwater, and throughout it all, you're collecting parts of the game's most powerful weapon, the Golden Gun. Sounds familiar, right? But remember, Data East didn't legally have the right to say this was James Bond, so we're just talking that they're similar. The gameplay at its core, it's a variety of levels, almost like Data East was trying to expand their libraries and give you something different to do in each level. It has underwater sequences, it has shooting, motorcycles, everything that you'd expect in a spy movie, which means this isn't just your basic shooter. The sprites in the game are big and colourful, but the game itself was just way too short. I'll talk about my completion times in a second, but even for an arcade game, if you had a bunch of quarters sitting next to you, you could easily complete this game in one sitting. Now, I paid $37.61 for the Data East collection. However, because I'm only reviewing Sly Spy here today, I have to say that I paid $3.76 for it. Meaning for me to get my $10 per hour, I need to play the game for more than 23 minutes. Well, wouldn't you know it, I played this game for exactly 23 minutes, and that's from start to finish, meaning I just received my $10 per hour ratio. I had a play count of 3, a load count of 3, and a save count of 6. Now it's time for me to say my reviews. Buckle up. I rate the story in Sly Spy a 6 out of 10. It isn't exactly a Metal Gear Solid when it comes to storytelling, but for an arcade action game, it does enough to keep things moving. There's a basic spy thriller setup with evil villains, a world-threatening nuclear plot, and enough action movie cliches to make it fun. But it's not super deep, and let's be honest, you're not playing this for a complex narrative. It gets the job done, gives you a reason to blast bad guys in style, and throws in just enough twists to keep things interesting. I probably would have rated the story slightly higher, maybe a 7 out of 10, but I just couldn't shake the feeling that I was missing something. At the end of the game, it actually advised me to go back, like I'd missed something or left something behind. But it was just a ploy to get me to play more. After sourcing the internet, I just found out the game has no alternative ending. And they fooled me. And I felt fooled. For an arcade game, the story does its job, but that little bit of uncertainty knocked it down for a little bit for me. If anyone else got fooled by this, let me know in the comments. Let's talk about my sound review. Now, I would have given the sound a 6 out of 10, but I had to downgrade it to a 4 due to my experience. Now, while playing Sly Spy on the Evercade, I experienced some frustrating sound issues that really impacted my immersion. During the underwater scene, the sound completely cut out, which was a pretty jarring experience, especially since the game's atmosphere relies heavily on its audio cues. On top of that, the background music seemed to be on super fast forward, playing at an unnaturally fast speed, which made everything feel offbeat and a little bit chaotic. After some reflection, it seemed like those issues could be related to a few potential causes. Since Sly Spy is emulated on the Evercade, there might be some compatibility issues between the game and the hardware or software causing the audio to behave erratically. I'd recommend keeping an eye out for the Evercade firmware updates, because this could address this problem in the future, but for now, the sound issues definitely detracted from my experience. Hopefully, this is something that gets fixed soon. Let's talk about my gameplay. Sly Spy gets a solid 7 out of 10 for gameplay. Here's why. As a massive fan of the spy genre, I absolutely love how this game embraces all those classic Bond vibes. You've got the tuxedo wearing hero, the sinister villains, and those ridiculous over-the-top action sequences that are the bread and butter of spy movies. And trust me, it's a hell of a good time. One of the things I really appreciated with this game was the variety in level designs. You're not just walking around shooting things, you're doing everything, from skydiving to motorcycle chasing. It's a thrilling ride from start to finish. Each level feels fresh and you never know what's coming next. It's the perfect mix of classic action and spy thriller that keeps you hooked. Now, if you're a Bond fan, these boss fights are going to make you grin from ear to ear. Seriously, some of these bosses are straight up rip-offs from iconic Bond villains. You can't help but smile as you recognise the inspired designs. It's like playing through a greatest hits reel of spy movie cliches, and I loved every minute of it. It's cheesy, it's fun, and it's exactly what I wanted. Look, the game doesn't reinvent the wheel, but as far as action spy adventures go, it's a blast. The gameplay is fast-paced, full of variety, and it's just over-the-top enough to keep you smiling through every level. If you love the spy genre as much as I do, I think you'll get a big kick out of this game. My overall rating for Sly Spy would have come in closer to a 7 out of 10, but due to the sound issues I personally experienced, like the audio cutting out and the music glitching, it dropped down to a 6 out of 10. I replayed the game to see if it was just a once-off, but the sound problems persisted in my multiple playthroughs, with the audio cutting out again at certain points, and the music continued to speed up unexpectedly, which really took me out of the experience. The gameplay itself is a blast with exciting mix of spy-themed movie and action variety across the levels. However, the sound issues just impacted me just a little bit too much. The game delivers the thrill of being a secret agent with engaging missions, fast-paced chases, and fun action sequence that keeps you on the edge of your toes. In the end, Sly Spy is a fun, nostalgic spy adventure with a few technical hiccups. Thank you so much for watching another deep dive completion review. Please remember to subscribe, like, and comment down below, because I would love to hear your thoughts and if you had the same sound issues that I experienced playing Sly Spy. Also put your Evercade stats down below, and as we build our community, everyone can see each other's stats and how long it took them to complete the game. We'll see you next time on the Odd Socks.